Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Elise Sembrano with Our Community Now, and we are here with Trisha Johnson. How are you doing today, Trisha?
I'm doing well.
Good. Well, why don't you help us understand more about yoga and how we can incorporate it into our lives, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Colorado. I'm also a registered yoga teacher, and I specialize in mindfulness and trauma-informed practices. So my goal is to try to help merge worlds between psychology and yoga as a psycho-spiritual practice, and just helping people learn that there's more to it than just physical benefits.
Wonderful. Have you ended up finding that people tend to think yoga is just specifically physical? And if you have, what would you say to those people that think that way?
For sure. I mean, I think it's easy to assume that because a lot of times we can find yoga classes in the gym, so we associate it as a physical exercise with physical benefits. But in actuality, yoga is a psycho-spiritual practice with 8 limbs, and one of those limbs is the physical practice of asana, or the postures. So there's 7 other limbs that are entirely about how to treat yourself, how to treat others, how to treat the world, how to breathe, how to meditate, how to connect with your higher power. And I think all those other limbs have a lot of value, more so than just the physical.
So that's wonderful. The fact that you work with people that have dealt with trauma, how does trauma and yoga work together, and how can people do that as an individual practice?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So trauma, as we are learning more and more, is not necessarily stored in the brain, but it's stored in the body. So a lot of people have traditionally gone to talk therapy to talk about what happened to them, to understand it, reprocess it, make new meaning. And what we're learning more and more is that trauma is stored more so in the body where language is not accessible. So to talk about it isn't really doing the kind of deep healing that we're needing on a somatic, on a physical level. So yoga helps with trauma by teaching the nervous system it's capable of both activating and relaxing, right? That we have control over our nervous system, and through mindful breath and movement, we can create homeostasis between the hemispheres of the brain and areas of the body so that we're not stuck in fight or flight or paralyzed by fear or terror. It gives you control back over mind and body, and more than that, helps you heal what made you lose control to begin with.
Would you recommend a certain practice for people that are just getting started, and what would that be?
I would say for folks with trauma, I would recommend a more gentle practice because a lot of times we need to heal our relationship with our body, and we need to learn how to listen to our body. In a world and in a society where we're rewarded for productivity, sometimes it's hard to just be still. We feel like we need to be doing or achieving or accomplishing. And so in yoga, there's 2 parts to every posture. There is the doing and the being. And so while there is value in what we do and how we do it, there is also inherent value in just being, like being still, being present, being here now.
Would you recommend a breathing practice for that, for the presence aspect of things?
Sure, any diaphragmatic breathing. So whenever we're breathing into the diaphragm, we're helping to regulate our autonomic nervous system and shift it out of sympathetic nervous system into parasympathetic, which means out of fight or flight and into rest and digest. So I would strongly encourage just any deep diaphragm breathing to help redirect the nervous system, and gentle, mindful postures to reestablish feelings of safety in the body.
So what would be a common misconception about yoga and meditation?
Yeah, I would say the most common one is that there's one type of yoga or one type of meditation, right? That meditation is to clear all the thoughts from your mind, or that yoga is to, have a yoga bod. And neither of those are true. There's many different types of meditations, whether they're breathing, grounding, guided meditations, walking meditations. There's also different types of yoga like hatha, vinyasa, ashtanga, restorative, yin. So what I would encourage people to do is look into it and learn about the various types of yoga and learn the differences between them so that they can find a fit for them. I have some friends who love hot yoga, and that is within their practice. Me, I'm more of a hatha and yin person. I like a slow and steady practice. There's no right or wrong, though. So taking time to figure out which practice best serves you and meets your needs, I think would be helpful for people in their healing process.
If you had one thing to say to anyone that's curious about yoga but has never, taken the leap, what would you say to them?
Oh man, that it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing, because their body is not your body. That what happens within the four corners of your mat is all that needs to happen, even if it's just laying there in child's pose, breathing, crying, whatever it needs to be. There is no right or wrong in yoga or how you're supposed to be doing it. Alignment helps, but at the end of the day, it's a practice of noticing and honoring the body, and that it doesn't matter what anybody else can do or is doing around you.
All right, Trish. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people learn more about you and what you do with yoga?
Yeah, so I have my own website, trishasana.com. I also have Instagram at trishasana, and I have a YouTube page where I am actively working on uploading more meditations and yoga segments for mental health. So if people are interested in knowing more, they can find me there.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And if you would like to check out our series that we're going to be doing with Trish, definitely check out ourcommunitynow.com.